Hi, Dr. Shook here. In this video, what I'd like to talk about are environmental toxins, basically that trigger autoimmune conditions, and specifically we're going to talk about Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Now in a previous video, I talked about three major environmental compounds that have been discovered to be triggers and that can exacerbate Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and that's through a process called molecular mimicry or cross-reactivity. I also talked about that in a previous video, and that is basically the process where a compound, which can be in this case an environmental toxin, looks similarly or similar to your own tissues on a molecular level. So if you look at the structure of the molecule, it's similar to your own tissues or your own thyroid tissue, and your immune system, when it sees this foreign toxin, which we're going to talk about the three toxins and how your body can eliminate them, it mistakes it for your own tissues, and it triggers an autoimmune attack where exposure to that toxin causes an immune response that also causes your tissues to therefore be attacked because of the similarity in how they look. So what we're going to talk about are some of these toxins that I covered in a previous video, and in particular we're going to talk about one that's a fire retardant. It's a very common, something you can be very commonly exposed to on with your furniture, in your bed, and any fabric that's fire retarded, treated with a fire retardant, and that is tetrabromobisphenol A. Okay. The other thing that we're going to talk about is BPA, and BPA is bisphenol A, and then the third thing that we're going to talk about is latex. And this is something that, all three of these things, the BPAs are found in plastic bottles and a lot of different types of plastic products, anything from toys to, anything. These are very very exposures. And then obviously the tetrabromobisphenol A, the fire retardant, is on anything that's fire treated. And that's a lot of fabrics, a lot of different things are treated with this type of retardant. And then latex, you can just imagine anything from grocery bags to plastics, prep surfaces, things that you might prepare your food on, even cutting boards could be latex. So there are a lot of things to really consider here. And so we use Cyrex labs in our office. If you come to my office for treatment, or if you ask for our help, you have to get tested. I can't take patients on without the proper information. And we can guess. You can make assumptions as to things that are in your environment or foods that you would need to remove. But to get good results and not to waste time, you've got to do testing. And Cyrex Labs is who I use for the majority of the testing that we do in our office, because it's immune system testing, and it checks for things that I can't get with other labs. And if I can get some of the tests that we order in other labs, like LabCorp for example, they don't check combined antibodies, and so it's basically the tests in other labs aren't as sensitive. So I know the people that run that lab, Cyrex, and it is, in my opinion, the best lab in the world for immune system testing. I trust it with my own health, and I have Hashimoto's and psoriasis. So here's the deal. These three compounds, we're exposed to them. We need to limit exposure first of all. So that's one of the reasons we order a panel to see if your body is reacting to those. If your body's reacting to those, you have to. We know that you're getting exposed. We need to identify where you're getting exposed to those compounds, remove the exposure, and then we need to figure out how we can get those out of your body. So these things aren't things that really chelate. And chelation, I talked about this in a previous video. That's not something that I'm an advocate of. Chelation is a process that pulls metals out of tissues in your body with the goal of eliminating them. And I'm not saying chelation is bad, but most people can't tolerate chelation because they have compromised blood-brain barriers, they have compromised gastrointestinal barriers, and what ends up happening is these chelating agents that are given to patients to remove these heavy metals and try to eliminate them actually have been shown in the literature. It's not my opinion. They've been shown in the literature to redistribute those heavy metals, which have an affinity or an attraction to areas and tissues that have a high metabolic activity or rate, which is your brain and your nervous system tissue. We don't want those metals redistributed there because it can create a metabolic or an inflammatory response and could trigger an autoimmune reaction. We don't want autoimmunity to any tissues, and especially not nervous system tissue, because those nervous system tissues, those cells you're born with the ones that you have. When your cells die off, they they don't go through a process of mitosis, which is cell division, where the cells duplicate and regenerate. You have the ones, you're born with the ones you have, and that's what you've got. So if you lose those tissues, they're gone. So the strategies, what we want to do to get these out of your body, there's basically two different ways that detoxification of anything occurs with your body. And basically, there's a process called biotransformation. Biotransformation is the terminology that's used in the scientific literature to describe liver detoxification. The liver uses two different chemical pathways, phase 1 and phase 2. Those are biochemical pathways that your body uses to capture, metabolize, break down in your liver and eliminate toxins from your body. So we know that that occurs, but what we don't really know is the time frame and how well that occurs. There's just not enough literature on that. If that's not scary, these things are all through our environment. We don't even know what they do, how our body eliminates them. It's unbelievable. So biotransformation, so those are glutathione pathways. Glutathione is one of the things that we use in our office with a lot of our patients to improve and maximize biotransformation, or this process of detoxification. But these chemicals, that's not the only thing. See, a lot of these chemicals, they're not just floating around in there. What they'll actually do is a lot of these chemicals, this latex, the tetrabromobisphenol A and the BPA, they will bind to human tissue. And I said bind, so they will attach to your human tissue. In that case, they will not chelate. You cannot eliminate them through biotransformation through the liver or liver elimination. So what you have to do is you actually have to wait for cell division or mitosis, where the cells divide and the tissues that they're attached to die, so that they slough off and they can be eliminated. So that process can take months. So that's one thing. The other way that we can eliminate those things is through sweating. So one of the things that we will use with some of our patients, and I will advise, is infrared or sauna therapy, where you go through a protocol to eliminate these things from your body. But here's the deal: you still have to have good barrier integrity. You have to get your body healthy enough to tolerate that. So it's some things. It's a very, very valuable tool, because when you sweat and you perspire, you can eliminate a lot of these compounds and things that are in the bloodstream. And there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, and it's something that you can't just jump in a sauna for an hour, because it can have a lot of negative and nasty side effects depending on the individual, their ability to tolerate heat, to sweat. I mean, some people, they go in there for a few minutes, and some people can't even do that. So it's a lot to consider. I just wanted to cover, how do you eliminate these toxins from your body that are known triggers for Hashimoto's. And this is current literature. This is very contemporary science right here. And this is how, if you have Hashimoto's or you have an autoimmune condition, because if these things are cross-reacting and triggering an attack against your thyroid, we know that there's molecular mimicry with a lot of different foods and things that are like thyroid tissue. So if you find foods that are like thyroid tissue, it's very likely that they could also be like some of the other tissues in the body that also get attacked at the same time that most patients with Hashimoto's. They'll also have other tissues being attacked, like the cerebellum, which is part of your brain, GAD65, some of your pancreas. There's a number of different things that can be affected. I just wanted to cover this briefly because it's something that needs to be considered. It's why you have to do the right testing to figure out what's going on, so you can develop a plan that actually works. Dr. Shook, appreciate you taking time from your day to learn more about your health. If you have any questions, you need anything, give us a call. Love to help you out if we can, and give you some more information. Have a great day.